Huh? Oh yes. I have something to do at home. The maid Binka nodded, saying that she had no idea that the handkerchief belonged to the crown prince. She seemed worried about getting into trouble. But Winfried didn't seem to care. In fact, he seemed delighted to have the scarf back. Where did you find it? Ah, that was on the floor of the restaurant. As expected, it was there. Winfried's prediction was correct. However, Binka, who had found the scarf, had left work early and was on vacation for 2 days, so she was unable to retrieve it. Thank you very much, Binka. Thanks to you, I found something precious again. Winfried beamed and took Binka's hand tenderly. Joy shone in his eyes. Oh, no, Your Highness. I didn't do anything. No, thank you very much. You are my benefactor. If you have any problems in the future, let me know, okay? In reality, Binka had simply picked up and put away the fallen objects, but to Winfried, it was as if Binka had been his benefactor, who had saved him from the flames. The handkerchief that held memories of Isla had that same meaning for him. Binka, who at first seemed scared and embarrassed, smiled shyly, as if Winfried's joy had infected her. And Winfried, who had recovered her beloved handkerchief, emptied her plate as if she had never had an appetite. Roderick placed the thin report he had just read on a thick stack of papers. Although the informants and objectives were different, the content was similar. This was because he said, I couldn't find anything special. He had infiltrated a secret agent among the nobles who had even the slightest connection with the first Prince Byron and had them monitored to ensure that he did not come into contact with Byron. I actually didn't expect anything in particular to come out. But maybe he couldn't lose hope. It was disappointing that nothing turned out like that. No, he did not abandon all expectations. If I never had expectations, I wouldn't have been so disappointed. How can there be so few clues? If Byron is hiding in this empire, he must be getting help from someone. It was a little strange that he hadn't been trampled like that. Phew. Roderick sighed and lowered his head. He felt a suffocating sensation, as if his stomach was blocked, and he couldn't do anything. Should I relax for a moment? He stood up from the desk, craned his neck a little, and left the office. He was thinking about taking a break and seeing Ophelia's face. She felt pretty heavy, so she spent most of her time in the bedroom, and was probably still there. Reaching the door, he carefully turned the knob. He didn't want to wake up Ophelia, who might be asleep, making unnecessary noise. But, contrary to what I expected, she was not asleep. I could hear Ophelia talking to someone inside the room. I keep trying, but breaking the security magic is harder than I thought. I'm sorry to ask you for such a difficult favor. And, thank you very much. Why do we need those words between us? Leave him alone, leave him alone. From what he could hear, it seemed like the person he was talking to was Candace. He kept trying to find the magic tool they said Isla had, but it didn't seem to be going well. I'm home, Ophelia. Candace is here too. Roderick opened the door and made a sound. Oh, Roderick. Happens. Candace greeted Roderick happily. It was a really lovely gesture that even the curious enjoyed. Roderick smiled slightly and sat next to the bed where Ophelia was leaning. I wonder if I accidentally interrupted your friend's private moment. Hey, what does the owner say? Anyway, I was thinking of going. I have a meeting soon. Candace said, as always, poking Roderick in the side with her pointed elbow. While in the Empire, he participated in regular remote meetings once a week using a video camera. Oh, today was Thursday? Yeah. Candace greeted the couple with an annoyed expression, scratching her messy hair. Leaving the room, Roderick took Ophelia's hand and gave it a quick kiss on the back. As Roderick lay face down on the bed, intertwining his hand with Ophelia's, she stroked his hair. He closed his eyes gently and felt her touch. When her soft hands brushed his hair, the complex thoughts floating in his head seemed to disperse and disappear. Roderick? Then, Ophelia called his name. Yes, what's going on? Roderick raised his head slightly from where he had been leaning and looked at his wife. She stared into his eyes, as if trying to decipher his thoughts. Do you have any concerns? And he ended up reading Roderick's mind so easily. No. But Roderick lied through his teeth. He was disgusted with himself for having to do it, and his stomach began to churn again, but there was nothing he could do. Oh really? It seems difficult. Ophelia tucked her hair behind her ear with a worried expression. Although her husband was very abrupt and did not express himself well, even when he was tired, she noticed it. That Roderick had something important on his mind. I'm fine. I'm fine. But he never confessed his concerns. She wasn't upset. He had firm faith in Roderick. He was the kind of man who wouldn't lie to her unless he had a good reason. Really? So Ophelia decided not to ask any more questions. When Roderick was ready, he would tell him. Waiting for Isla, who may never return, was a difficult time. For both Roderick and Ophelia. And then, he felt a gurgle in his stomach. It was as if the baby in the womb was trying to comfort its parents. As winter passed and warmer temperatures arrived, the accumulated snow melted and green grass sprouted. A deer was grazing on the newly sprouted grass with its head resting on the ground when it suddenly raised its head and looked around. He felt a noise, so he became very alert. But it was too late. An arrow had flown from somewhere and taken the deer's life. Well done, miss. His skills improved day by day. Cloud praised Isla for her success in hunting the deer, but she lowered her bow with a calm expression. He had no choice but to hunt for food, but no matter how hard he tried, the feeling was never pleasant. Isla looked at Cloud, who was carrying the deer, indifferently. It was covered in dirt and dust, and was in tatters, as if it hadn't been washed in a long time. And Isla probably felt the same way. This was because they were avoiding checkpoints and taking only difficult routes. I was exhausted from constantly camping, but there was nothing I could do. It would take 2 more days to embark for the kingdom of Inselkuf. The master will be delighted, my lady. Yes, I'm glad if my father likes it. When Cloud said this, Isla couldn't shut up. It was strange that a girl whose father was everything in life did not respond to such praise. Although he reacted completely normally, Cloud was still looking at Isla. It was a look in his eyes that seemed to contain something he wanted to say. What's happening? I said it because I thought you had grown a lot. Cloud opened his mouth as if he felt something new. It's natural. As time goes by, children grow naturally. I see. But, you have matured a lot in the last year, young lady. It's almost like I've aged 5 years in that year. At his words, Isla was speechless and remained silent. It was as if she had been caught going back in time. Let's go quickly. Father will be waiting. Isla changed the subject for no reason and quickened her pace. It was not a wrong statement. Byron, who used to be sensitive and short-tempered, was now in worse condition. It was because I hadn't eaten well in several days. Only by quickly going to cook venison and offering it to him was Byron able to contain his outburst. When they returned to the temporary tent where they were staying, Capella came and gave them venison as if he had been waiting for them. Isla sat on a chair made from a tree stump and absent-mindedly tossed the dagger at her waist into the air. It was an award he had received for his work during the last incident at the checkpoint. And soon, a delicious aroma began to permeate the atmosphere. The food was ready. Now I feel like I can live. After feasting on tender venison, Byron returned to his usual serenity and relaxation. He praised Isla, perhaps because he felt good after eating delicious food for the first time in a long time. I heard from Cloud that you caught a deer. Is it true, daughter? Yes, father. Thanks to you, I had a satisfying meal for the first time in a long time. Making your father happy is praiseworthy. Although he praised her, he was still quite self-centered. Isla felt a subtle offense, but forced herself to contain it and smiled happily. Because he heard praise from his father, whom he loved so much. But as Byron continued talking, Isla couldn't believe her ears. He was beginning to wonder if he was dreaming. Yeah. If you go to the kingdom of Inselkuf, I think I can give you a little more freedom than you have now. It's a foreign country, so it won't be that dangerous.